Hello everyone and welcome to Antisocial, the podcast brought to you by Adrian Flux. And once again, this is the first technical podcast of the new year with a guest. And today we're joined with, over Discord, James Marriott.
Hi. No, I'm not over Discord. I'm here at the set. I'm here live at the set right now.
He's here.
I'm gonna look around to my side. Hello, Charlie. How are you?
Hey, mate.
Hello, Cam. Hello. I believe you're probably on this side of me. I don't know where I'm sat.
You know what? I'll be wherever you want me to be, James. It's fine.
You can sit wherever you want, James. Wherever you want. That's the beauty of a green screen. We can just put you wherever we want.
Can we title this Eboys Green Screen Challenge 3?
No, you can't. We're not letting you have that title, I'm afraid. We'll use that next year at some point.
Oh god. Well, James, to begin, obviously we've got you on for the main reason is you're releasing your EP.
Oh, it's not the main reason.
It's just the music, James.
Because he's got zero personality. We just kid about it.
It always feels really... It's not just for that. I wanted to come on anyway, but it always feels really weird talking about music because it's not something I really ever talk about. So yeah, but yeah, that's exciting. That's a thing that's happening.
I think it's something that I'm quite excited about because obviously, you and I, we've had a fair few conversations about other music and stuff, and we've had quite a relay of between our own music before. And to see such a kind of, I'd say it was a very successful first release of it was from this EP. How do you find it's gone so far?
It's weird. Him went really well. It went a lot better than I thought it was going to go because when we released the first song, Slow Down, well, I say we, that was mainly just me and John Swan half a year ago. That went really well, but I was doing very well at the time, numbers-wise. So now coming forward and being kind of leveling out a bit, the hype of the Eboys has certainly settled since that initial first month and that first buzz, which is when Slow Down dropped. For this song to do better, it took a lot more actual kind of engineering and making the song actually bang a bit more in general. So now so for example, with Slow Down, it took months for it to be doing better on Spotify than YouTube. But the him has got more streams on Spotify than it does views on YouTube now, which is crazy.
That's class.
That's definitely a very good sign. That's a very good sign, especially for auditory. It's a bloody song, isn't it? So if you're releasing a song and it does better on an audio platform, it's a good thing. Video-wise, was very fun though. Mm-hmm. Did you enjoy doing that?
So basically, we were originally going to do an actual music video, and I have a friend who wants to do it with me. Who's someone I've known for ages, and now he owns his own production company. He was like, let's do it. And then he told me how much it was going to be to make it look sick. Because I wanted I wanted it to feel like a proper music video. And at that point, it was you're kind of shilling £750 on a nice camera alone to rent, a really good movie cinematic camera. And then the budget for the thing was going into $3,000, maybe even more if we wanted it to have the locations in London. And I was like, I ain't got the fucking budget for that right now for the music. And then I wasn't...
So you just got a VHS camera and was like, fuck it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I didn't want to do one because I was just I don't want to do one that isn't good. I would rather just drop the music. And then I was talking to Wilbur about it. And he said oh, don't be a moron. Just go and buy a shit camera and go and record something in London. And I was like... All right, yeah, and then it ended up being really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Was it, the locations you chose? Was there any reason behind any specific location in the video?
So there were some moments which were kind of based in reality, the bridge moment.
Where you lost your virginity.
The bridge moments were kind of taken from elements of my life that during the period of time in which I wrote the song based on. But then the other locations were just kind of cool scenic things nearby. It was be it under a train, the kind of the bridge of a train with kind of a very even kind of set of holes in the wall. They were all just kind of locations which looked like you could kind of enter into them using a really cool digital zoom function. So that was the vibe behind all of it.
I like the screenshot from when you're just lying down in the tunnel. That's really fun.
James Marriott is dead. Yeah. That's Greenwich Foot Tunnel.
When you were filming that, was it at night?
Yeah.
Because obviously you can't tell what time of day it is. Did you have any people that were just passing through the music video when you were doing that?
We were we went to record it the first time and there was just this man. I think we've got footage for it, so I can send you this. There was a man, and obviously, when there's only 3 people, so the person shooting the video, me, and one other person in the tunnel, and you can see the whole fucking thing, I didn't want to look behind me, and I said to Thomas, who was filming, I was like, is he out of the shot now? And then my voice was just is he out of the shot now? And just going for the entirety of the foot tunnel, to the point where he just stood still and just stood there for 3 minutes. Like, he was just kind of like purposefully not moving. Like, we know he didn't have connection on his phone. He was just going on his phone, not moving, to try and make it difficult for us for some reason.
He definitely saw it as a payday, didn't he?
Yeah. Just wanted a cameo in a James Marriott music video, mate.
I'll give you the footage of it. It was so odd. And then I just felt awkward, so we left and we came back We came back at like 4 a.m. when there would definitely be no one. And yeah.
You should
Bloody
release a behind the scenes video. That'd be quite cool. Just like if there's enough like outtakes, you should release a behind the scenes video. That'd be quite cool.
We do have some outtakes, but there's like a lot of the footage I recorded was used, especially like the more scenic shots, which were just kind of like foliage, I referred to it as, were purposeful. It was literally just like, at one point we needed more foliage and I was like, right, I'm just gonna walk into Canary, record some shit, make it feel a bit hectic. That's like the vibe, that's it. And that's when we got those cool shots of just like they're just standing still, like really jarring shit. Like, I wanted people to be like a bit kind of spooked by it, and I think we got that about.
I think one of the top comments on the video was like James in the video, and it's like the little man just standing there.
Yeah, no, I love that, because it was George who got the shot, the red shot, which is just like, it's like a very alarming shot, and I think it kind of sticks in your mind, because it's just like, oh, that's a bit weird, and I really like that.
I was just wondering, did you have any inspiration or any like reference between the music video? Because you had like an initial concept, which obviously you couldn't execute due to maybe like a budget or timing wise. But are there any references or something?
It was going to be really cool as well. Like, the actual music video was going to be sick. It was going to be like, we were going to do this whole kind of like, there was going to be like some fucking CGI involved. It would have been like nutty. But yeah, the reason, a lot of it the first inspiration, the reason why it was filmed late at night, it was kind of like a shout out to a song we wrote and just dropped. Because I wrote a song called 3 a.m. with my producer Holder. That one was co-written. And it was a good song.
You showed me that one.
Yeah, and then I got rid of it because I didn't like my vocals on it, and I was just like, gross. If I don't like my vocals on something, I'm not gonna release it. Like, that's just like easy for me. And so that's why when the first thing that pops up is like the day we filmed it, and then 3 a.m. even though it was filmed between 11 and 4.
I thought that was an Easter egg.
That's cool.
I thought the song that you got rid of was another song and not that song. I thought it was a completely different song that you got rid of.
Oh, we've gotten rid of multiple. We got rid of multiple songs. But yeah, that's the kind of reason it was filmed late at night. Also, the bridge late at night thing is something which relates a lot to something that happened in my life, which is just kind of like a connection I make with it. But yeah, the inspirations regarding the music video, this is annoying, right? Because it was Wilbur that told me to go out and fucking record the thing. And I think that automatically put it in my head of like, retro, because I was like, how does Wilbur shoot? How does Wilbur do it? And then I just went and did that. So kind of subconsciously, he inspired it just by telling me to do it. His Internet Has Ruined Me song probably kind of inspired a lot of the shots, or kind of like the location as well.
Okay, you mentioned once or twice about the, I don't know why I'm smiling, but the bridge situation. Is that something that we can talk about, or is that something that's quite personal? Because I'm 99% sure I know what it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I don't think I've ever spoken about it, really. It's like, it was just like a culmination of the worst period of my life. And that was, that was in March last year. I think everyone can kind of tell where it's going. But let's just say it was a really difficult night, and I ended up on a bridge somewhere, and I didn't do anything. That's all it was. And that's not even like, not in any way to get sympathy for the situation I was in, because very much like what I've come to realize is that a lot of the issues I've had in my life are a product of kind of mistakes I've made, or like the ways I've acted as well. Like, I very much take credit for a lot of my negative times. But yeah, that was trash. It was just like the worst night ever. And I think what I wanted in my life was proof at the time that if I wanted anything with my life, and even in the darkest way, I could do it, but I was choosing not to do it. So it was like, at that point you become very powerful, because it's like, I felt like I was very much back in the driving seat. I was like in control of my own life again. But it took a lot of shit to get there, and it took literally breaking before rebuilding, I guess. But yeah, that was a very difficult time.
What was that like, revisiting that for the EP, obviously with the video, and whether lyrics relate to that? Like, what was that whole process like?
It's just quite sentimental. I very much like, whenever I have like negative shit in my past, I end up romanticizing it quite a lot. It's not something I think back to and I go like, I get depressed about or I get upset about. It's more like the fact that I can now turn it into something positive even, or like, or kind of, yeah, again, like something sentimental. It doesn't hurt me to revisit it. If anything, though, I think there was one moment in New Face where I found myself singing a part of New Face when I was in an elevator and I cried. And even when Him was released, I showed more emotion for Him dropping than any point since that night. Like, it was just kind of like, maybe those two things were connected. Maybe it was like me kind of coming to terms with it live while other people were reacting to a piece of art that I'd made about it. But it's been overwhelmingly positive. It's at no point has it been like a difficult thing to revisit. If anything, I'm kind of glad that I've just been able to put it all out there and now it's done, you know?
Yeah, because like you're seeing, obviously with your commentary videos, it's a lot just being funny on camera, being funny, next joke. So I was thinking, how have you found it now that instead of like the focus being on making jokes, it's now like on you and your ideas are brought to the table a lot more?
Like polar opposite type thing.
I think it's like the difficulty I find is those two elements of me coexisting, because I can't escape the fact that entertainment and doing and making jokes or making videos about other people is what keeps like my rent paid, you know? Like music for all intents and purposes is not for money, because I don't make money off of music. I invest it all back. I bought even today, I bought a new mixer with money that I've received from purchases of Him. Like it's like, and then
What'd you get?
the Apollo Twin.
Oh, come on then. That's nice.
That's Charlie's night sorted.
Oh, yeah.
That's his wank sorted for tonight.
You were talking about reinvesting it. Like we know, like you love your guitars and stuff like that. Like what else are you looking at?
FIFA points.
So like I got a new microphone. I got the Neumann U87, which is like, it means I can do kind of like studio vocals here. I've got like a sound shield and everything for it. And also like the people I work with, like producers and stuff, I like to make sure people are getting paid their due, you know, and kind of making enough from it to constantly want to keep producing with me. It's gotten to the point now where my main producer Holder, and I are writing, and just kind of, well, he has like management, so a couple of songs that we've written are now being processed through the management and perhaps being sold elsewhere, which is really fun.
James, there's something I just want to take it off, and that I know this is going to sound a little bit cringe, but I was really proud of you when you sent me Him, not because of it wasn't to do with the actual song, but just the confidence. And if you go back and listen to Slow Down, you can tell a massive confidence difference between your vocals and that. And obviously in Him, the difference is night and day in terms of confidence wise.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't like taking credit for this, simply because it's like, I think the biggest difference was me recording in a block of flats, because Slowdown was recorded on this microphone I was sat here. So I was literally just kind of like kind of like at my desk. Whereas like Him, I was in a studio completely like in Brighton, out of London. I was like with musicians in a vocal booth, and I was doing like multiple takes and someone was telling me if they were shit. So it was like a lot different.
Yeah, so it's kind of like when you go to an office to work, you're like, I'm here to make music, whereas when you were doing the Slowdown, it's like, I'm just sitting at my desk like I would be doing for a YouTube video. So it's almost like, and it's like when you have a teacher there that's constantly going to tell you what to do and what not to do. So it makes a massive difference in terms of just being able to be like, do this, don't do that, don't do that.
It's like the difference between like just studying at home and going to a library. You know what I mean? It's like being around, it being in the vibe to get ready to study, like shit like that. And you don't really know how much impact that's going to have on you until you do it. So it's like when I was in the studio and I was like, oh shit, I can do this. It was a lot different.
Yeah, how did the reaction from Slowdown impact your confidence going into making this EP?
Well, interestingly enough, I knew there were going to be people that liked Slowdown, because I'd sent it, I'd sent it around quite a lot. So a lot of people had heard it before it was even out. And a lot of people were going like, oh wow, I didn't know that this was an interest you had. And there was a lot of very positive shit I was hearing from my friends that was like, I think mainly just surprise. Like people would have expected like me to come out and maybe do like a jokey like rap song or something and just be completely ridiculous. But they weren't expecting fucking, Calix described it as like liquid drum and bass. It was just like, where the fuck has this come from? You know what I mean? But then when I released it to the public, people go into YouTuber music wanting to cringe. And I'm someone who is very much, I've caused this personally because I've made videos on YouTubers singing. So I'm kind of the creator of somewhat of my own downfall here. But I think, like, as soon as I dropped Slowdown, there was a lot of hate about it. It got like over 1,000 dislikes overall in the end. And that fucking hurt. Like, I remember thinking like, oh shit, this, like, I've just put out something that I've spent a month on. And this hurts. Like, people saying this is shit, that hurts. So it didn't affect my confidence in the way you'd expect. It didn't make me go, wow, I'm fucking sick. I can do this. People love me. I was like, I need to do better than this.
So it's a good kick up the arse type thing.
Yeah, exactly. If I don't do better in this than this in the next one, music isn't for me.
Yeah, because with the like you were saying there, differentiating between commentary YouTuber making videos on maybe songs to actually you making a song, were you worried about that before your EP? Like, people just absolutely like commentary YouTubers coming for you?
Well, I'm not worried about it anymore because I love him. Like, him is a great song, in my opinion. I really like it. And I wouldn't be releasing stuff that I didn't like at this point. The issue with Slowdown was like, I liked it before it released, and then after it released I hated it. And I'm now trying to avoid that feeling. I don't fear it, because if I feared it, it would be very hypocritical of me. But I've since doing it myself, I kind of understand the impact of my words a little bit more when it comes to art, which is why when I've revisited topics, like I revisited Gabby Hanna's poetry recently, and I found myself being a lot more kind of like, oh, but there's an audience for this. Like, I'm not the person that this is meant for, you know. And that was because, like, in a way I was directing it to myself of like, oh yeah, but you know, my liquid drum and bass isn't for everyone. It's not, you know, and kind of shit like this. So no, it's yeah, it is what it is. I feel okay about it. People can have their opinion, and it doesn't really affect me. I just want to make things which are good.
The difference is exactly that. It's that with Gabby Hanna poetry, the product isn't actually good. And not a lot of effort has been put into it.
Okay, yeah, well, true, but I didn't put much effort into Slowdown though, and this is the thing. It's like I recorded maybe 10 attempts at the vocals in general overall. So I tried the verses 10 times, I tried the choruses 10 times, I tried the bridge 10 times, right? And I did the first 5, showed them to Ari, and she went, "You're kind of speaking it. Just try and sing it a bit more." And then I did it. And I refused to take criticism because I was like, if anyone says anything bad about this, I'm going to feel shit. So I just kind of didn't show it to her again. I was just like, this is good, we're done with it. Bang, gone. And that was a bad product because I didn't put enough time into it. I didn't put enough energy into it.
Would you say that Slowdown was a bad product, bro?
Yes. And simply because it's interesting to me because I think from a songwriting perspective, it's good because it's got like a catchy chorus. I think it could use a lot more dynamics in the notes because I think I sing about 3 notes overall, but I also didn't know what my range was. So I didn't know what I could sing and be comfortable with. I was just going like, what seems natural? Da 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 da. Like, it's just very simple. John Swan was very good at writing things. He added a lot to that song, but he can't mix yet because he's not got much experience with mixing. He can't master yet because he's not got much experience with mastering. So we had a cool song, but it wasn't turned into something which merited the amount of views that it got. Whereas with this new stuff, it's like I had a drummer work on the drums with me. I wrote the guitars, I wrote the vocals, all that. But then I had Holder come in and mix it, make it sound like it was popping, make it sound like it was like really hitting you. And then we sent it off to a separate mastering person. Masterer, would you call it? Another Finnish guy. So by that point, it had gone through so many ears. Yeah, so yeah, no, this guy's called Silla. I work with 2 Finnish producers now. It's proper like Scandinavian vibes.
The Scandinavians, their audio, they are on another planet. There's those and Italians. Like when I was at uni, it was literally Italians or Nordics. Like it was literally Swedish people, anyone from like that kind of end of Europe or Italians. James, in regards to like you talking about your vocal range and learning probably more about yourself, I can see exactly what you mean because imagine like for like Slowdown, there's not much of like variation, but I really think you can see a lot of development, and I see your point completely in New Face. Is it New Face? Yeah, it's New Face.
New Face is one that I'm really scared about because New Face is like, intimate.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What was the instrument that plays like in the background? It's like the like in the background you've got like the piano kind of thing. It's quite like melodic, but then you've got like this. Do you know what was that? That was in the background.
The vocal samples.
That's gorgeous, mate.
So okay, unless you're talking about the sound in the second verse, because there's a guitar pad in the second verse, which kind of comes through as like a wah kind of sound. But if you're talking about what happens in the first chorus, where it's kind of like the da da, like that just going on in the background, those are vocal samples. Because I mean, we can kind of, I don't want to like analyze a song that isn't out yet, but the purpose of it, and this is kind of cool if anyone wants to go in this with their first listen, is what I wanted to achieve with that is have a first chorus which has kind of reverberating sounds of like people telling me things that you can't quite comprehend being a listener, and then at the end of the song when the chorus is revisited from a very isolated perspective, suddenly those vocals aren't there anymore, and then new lines of the chorus are revealed at the end. So that's like the cool little gist of that.
Because for me, in regards to like the meaning like behind the song, obviously like new face for me it kind of evokes like an idea of like obviously a new face is like a change of like perspective or like identity. Is that kind of like where you wanted to go down? Because there's a few lyrics which kind of popped out for me, which kind of like I've listened to and I thought, oh.
It's an interesting one. It's like I wrote that's probably in a way the angriest song, because I'm so angry about like things to do in that kind of area of my life. But yeah, it is very much about like the perspective people have of you when you start a new job, you get some new friends, you maybe blow up on the internet. It's like the way that people's like perspective changes on you because everyone naturally grows, everyone naturally changes, but the idea that people change for the worse just because they have a few numbers on the internet fucking pissed me off to no end, and I wrote that basically about that.
Can you tell me about like this lyric that you wrote where you said, flip the switch, now the fault is all mine, cut the stitch, I'll be yours to design? Can you tell me more about that? I'm just very intrigued by that.
It's fucking genius interview over here.
I love it though. I love it.
I really like the lyrics of this song. That really stood out for me.
Like so the flip the switch one is something which has kind of applied a lot in my life over the last 2 years, which has kind of been something I've received kind of like therapy for basically. But in this situation it's more to do with kind of taking a situation and it always being on me. So like the flip the switch kind of idea, like I very much like the imagery of like lights on and off, and kind of I don't know, I probably apply a little bit too much to it. I'll strip it down to the basics of just like people putting their issues onto me, projecting onto me, and then cut the stitch, I'll be yours to design is kind of, I was towards the end of certain friendships being molded to ways in which people wanted me to act, which just wasn't where I was going or who I was. So that part is very much like, this is the part just before like the emotional climax of the song, if it were. And I wanted that to very much contrast against the lyrics that come after it, because it uses the same vocal line and it's kind of me conceding. It's going like, yeah, you're right. And then I'm kind of going, no, fuck off, you're not right. And then that's suddenly, all of a sudden is the crescendo of kind of like, kind of to back that point.
Yeah, because I think just to like top, like what I really kind of wanted to analyze in regards to like parts of the song were that you speak about identity, about molding yourself to other people, but would you say that this song was probably more about struggling with identity? Because you've got a lyric in there, it literally says like, it feels like I've changed, well, I hope that I have. If it feels like I've changed, well, I hope that I have. So, like, what are you trying to, like, go for this? Are you trying to look for, like, personal growth to your own perspective, or what?
I think, like, if people tell you you've changed, you have. Because it's like, and then it's about coming to terms with it and going, maybe I haven't changed in a negative way. And I think that's the way I took it, because clearly I have. Like, someone wouldn't tell you something's different unless it was, for some reason or another. So, in a way, I wasn't, like, I was trying to come to terms with something which had been happening in my life for quite a while, but trying to say that it's not a negative change, but rather quite a positive one, and that maybe the person that was the problem all along wasn't me, and that's the main crux of it.
So is that about like is Is it one specific person, or is it just about a whole, like, maybe it's like over a timeline?
There are people that come to mind, but but like I think the funniest thing is like when especially with him as well, like I know him knows who he is.
Oh shit!
No one else knows who he is.
Wilbur Soot, if you're watching.
So that's something I've got to live with. Like this person, he probably doesn't care about it in the way that I do, but he has one up on me, and he always will, and that's fine. But now it's like I've got to kind of come to terms with the thing that I have turned it into something positive. But he now knows that really did impact me.
Yeah. So if he didn't know, like before, now he does know because you've written a song called "Him" about him.
Yeah.
Now he knows.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think like what I find really interesting, like for your music as well, is that you and I think when we met was probably when you were, I'd say, coming out of this
Coming out, full stop.
yeah, just coming out. You were like coming out of like this mental slump period of your life that you spoke about, right? And I think where we kind of started speaking about like music and things obviously that have like happened, what I always like can now see in some of this music is like maybe like some sort of cathartic release that you find from writing lyrics or writing music. Is that something that you think that really helps you, so to speak? Because I feel like you're getting stuff off your chest by releasing some of these songs.
I found myself, when I was getting back into writing music, I could not stop writing about the same shit. It was always this period of my life. So I set aside, I was like, I'm going to do one, and I'm not planning on doing an album after this. Like I'm planning on just doing like singles, just music as much as I can, as often as I can. Because it's so hard doing a project with more than one song in it. I'll tell you that. It's been a fucking stress at times. I came to a conclusion that I was like, I need to put all of this shit into 5 songs so I can make sure I never have to revisit this again. I can literally just close this section off of my life and start writing about conceptual things, like things I'm struggling with now, or things like other people in my life are struggling with. Tell some fucking stories, right? And not just go like, oh, in early 2019 I had a really hard time, and that's it, and that just be my music career for the rest of time. So I was like, I'm gonna do these 5 songs, which are now 3, to talk about it all. And that was the whole point of it. And it was cathartic in a sense, but it was also just to fucking get over it, like just to move on.
Well, what happened to the other 2 songs?
Shit. I'm joking.
No, I liked it. Free in the morning. I will forever be one of the 5 people that listen to that song.
Show off.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm probably going to release the instrumental. I'll probably release the instrumental because it's so cool, unless it gets bought. Because that's the thing, is it's like we're now pitching that song to other people because it's like, I'm not going to use it. Like, we're not going to revisit it now because once we've mudded something, we're not going to redo it. But there's more. There was the first song I wrote for the EP was The Way Out, which had these like really cool Mellotron. Is it Mellotron? I think it's Mellotron. Like that kind of like really old kind of Beatlesy sound. It kind of sounds like birds. It's like a synth, a bird synth basically. And it was just this really cool melody on that I wrote. But then I started doing these kind of like Post Maloney rap singing, and I was just like, bro, this is not me. I can't like do this. This is fucking cringe. And I was like, I'm getting rid of this. And then my producer was like, I don't think you should drop this one. And I was like, completely with you. Let's just cut it. So we cut it. And Calling actually has a good ending to it. So I was like, I'm happy with it ending with Calling.
So when you're saying there that the producer said to cut it, like you were saying the difference between doing Slowdown, you wouldn't take criticism. So with that, like, how have you found this time, like, taking the criticism, and is it been easier, or?
It was a big, like, learning curve for me, because I was like, okay, yeah, I couldn't take criticism before until I was criticized by the public, and it sucked. And I was like, you know what? I think it's much better having people criticize me one-on-one than it is having, like, 1,000 people go, this is shit. So I was like, I would much rather, my producer and I have such a honest working relationship, to the point where I write about like, I'd say like a song every 2 days. I try and write and get like, at least send him something and go like, what do you think of this? And he goes like, why'd you keep writing Get Lucky? Stop writing Get Lucky. And it's because I've been listening to Get Lucky a lot recently for some reason. And I'm like, I can't stop writing like jink 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 jink, like kind of guitar lines.
Stream Daft Punk Get Lucky.
Sound of the summer. But he's the most honest with me, to the point like he will tell me if it's shit and I'll go like, okay, fair enough. But when he tells me something is good, it becomes something really exciting because it means that we are going to be working on something cool.
He's a bit like the needle drop.
So yeah, it's very good having that. Because like I often find myself like we've actually written something cool now that we're working on, and I've kind of come to terms with the fact that it probably isn't suited for me, but it is really sick. So we're kind of like working on it, and I'm writing a top line for it. And we'll just see where it goes. If it's my song, it's my song. If it's not, we'll just try and sell it.
So with the 3 songs that are on the EP, like from the start to finish, how long did each song, was some like songs quicker to make, or were they all kind of like similar timescales?
Him, I wrote 3 times before writing it properly. I knew what the first half of the first verse was from the beginning, because I was writing a song called Whiskey, which has my favorite lyric in it, but it was just like, it just ended up, it kind of went to like, just like an E chord, like the most boring zombie chord in a guitar, and I was just like, oh, fuck off, I don't want to write something which is like acoustic-y. So Him has been in the works for probably since July, and it took me a lot of times getting it wrong before I got it right. So that one probably took the most amount of time. New Face was produced predominantly by Holder, and I wrote the top line for it, but I went to him and I went, there's a song I really like on the 1975's album called I Think There's Something You Should Know. I think it's good, but it could be better. And I was like, I think that crescendo and having this huge moment in a song and just having that be the point of it, not have like a recurring chorus or anything, but have like a chorus that is kind of minimalistic and then a crescendo in a verse would be really cool. And so he produced that, and okay, I'm not even kidding. The crescendo of New Face was the first thing we did for New Face, and it was written in 15 minutes. It was one of those moments which just kind of like happened, and then I wrote the top line for it a month later. So that was great. And then Calling was probably, we started working on Calling in January last year because Wilbur came over and we do a lot of music together. And he showed me a chord progression that he'd made using C, kind of like the major 7th shape. And I really liked it and stole it. And then told him half a year later that I was going to write a song with it. And he was like, write a song with what? And I showed him the chord progression again. And he had no idea what I was talking about. So he was fine with me taking that. I've got to give him some writing credits. And then I wrote like the chorus lines and everything.
What I do want to say is for anyone who doesn't know you, or if anyone that does know, and is just wondering, when does the EP come out, James? Is it the 15th, I believe?
Oh, it's the 15th.
Yay.
Where could they pre-order the EP from?
I think you could do it on iTunes, but I don't think we have a pre-save link on Spotify, which is annoying. But yeah, don't worry about it. Well, we'll just promote it when it comes out.
One thing I do want to ask is, how did I can already gauge probably how your friends reacted, but how did your family react? Not only when they were like, my son's becoming a YouTuber, but now he's wanting to become a wannabe musician. How have they reacted to that?
To be honest, I don't talk much with my family. My mum said she'd sent the song Him around to a few people.
Oh, really?
And they all loved it. Like a director I had when I was a kid has listened to Him and was like, and said some really lovely things about me, which was nice. My sister as well is really supportive. My dad just goes like, good song. And that's about as far as that goes. And
I feel like my parents are the same. If they just accepted that you're going to do what you want to do.
Yeah, I kind of like, everyone kind of understands that I'm just a bit in, well, you know, like how it is people that aren't in YouTube don't really understand the world that it is. And they just go like, oh, he's in his own world. He's just doing his thing. So like that's very much the connection with even with music as well. They're just like, oh, it's just James being James. Let him be, and that's pretty much about it. But yeah, my friends' like opinions are the ones that matter. Like those are the ones where I'm like, when people go to me like, oh, this is sick. I'm like, yeah, thank you. That's a really good feeling.
James, like, have you ever thought about writing a song about a car?
A car.
Tracy Chapman.
Yeah. Maybe like
Driving home for Christmas. No, that's not it.
Tracy Chapman.
Yeah. A car, James. Do you reckon you could write a song about a car?
Why? What is this bit? Why do you want me to write a song about a car?
Like, you should just go along with it, James, mate. It will
But
make
nothing
sense in a second.
dangerous.
Nothing
It
dangerous.
can't be
Safe
dangerous
driving.
lyrics. Safe driving.
Yeah, maybe I'll do like, yeah, no, I can do a drunk driving chord.
No, drink driving, James.
Basically, on the topic of drink driving, what are we trying to do right now, Lewis?
Stay safe and be insured when we drive.
And who are we? James, who should we go to get our insurance?
Adrian Flux.
That will take us into the integration.
So as you can see how enthusiastic James Marriott was about driving, today's sponsor of the podcast, as always, is...
Adrian Flux. Thank you, Adrian Flux. If you want to learn how to drive in 2021, all you need to do is click the first link in the description, because on that website, Lewis, what will it tell you?
It will give you loads of information, and Cam, you're saying if you're learning to drive, but even if you have passed your test, you can see if you can get a cheaper quote at Adrian Flux. It doesn't cost you anything, and all you need to do is click the link in the description.
Yes, please support the podcast.
All right. Once again, thank you very much to Adrian Flux for being the sponsor of this podcast. James, let's take it away from songs about cars and take it to maybe one that you've already written anyway. So on the EP, you've got a song called Calling. You said about playing? Did you play the guitar solo, or did you get someone to play that guitar solo? Because the guitar solo is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, that's me. I do all the guitars.
That's unreal. It's gorgeous.
There's only one guitar I didn't do, and that's the guitar pad in New Face, because it was just pointless. Like, it was such a basic chord.
Were you proud of that solo?
Yeah, it's all right. I like the slowdown solo more. I think the slowdown solo is really cool. Like, I love that.
Oh, that is sick, yeah.
But no, the calling one's sick. But the best thing about the calling solo is the way it ends, and then the feedback feeds into that final pre-chorus, which is just like, or the C part even. And I love that.
I'm gonna take a genius approach just for two things very quickly. I don't want to go too crazy on it, but so you've got two parts of it. So one of it said, "Strange how no one's here to listen in this ghost town." What on earth did you mean by that?
So I kind of like, it's a bit edgy. It's a bit like, wow, there's a population of what, like 8 million in London? Why will no one listen to my problems? Like, it's kind of like a struggle to find connections within a city. Like, I always have found it quite interesting going on the tube and no one's smiling. Like, so it's kind of like everyone might as well just be dead. Like, that's the kind of like the vibe that I give from that. Because it's like ghosts, you know what I mean? Like, you go on a train and you're just surrounded by ghosts. That's how it feels to me. And I kind of connected that with the idea of calling and creating contact. It's kind of like an aimless, who am I going to create this contact with, you know?
I see that. So the last line, I think, was it one of the last lines or something? It's very close. He said, "I don't open letters anymore."
I love that.
Yeah, so do I. It's haunted.
I think it asks a lot of questions. See, this is the thing. Is like, I remember we were finishing that song and I was like, the ending's not good. And I remembered something that happened earlier that year, and I was like, wait, this is kind of like, it's on the same vibe. It's all about contact and kind of like the transitioning to calling from kind of previous modes of communication. And the I don't open letters anymore, I think it's just like, it comes at the most like powerful moment of the song. And I almost like, I like the mystery behind it, because it's like, what does this mean? But I think a lot of people can kind of relate to it in their own little ways, even if it's just from receiving bills that you don't want to open. And like, I have anxiety opening fucking...
I do that all the time.
I have anxiety opening letters, right? So that's just like, I don't open letters. Like, I always have like 3 unopened letters on my desk because I just don't want to open them. But it was also a member of my family who will go unnamed sent me a letter calling me disrespectful. And it was like this letter I received from a member of my family who regularly has sent me letters in the past, and they have been very nice. And it was one about how I almost as if I wasn't performing well enough at family occasions. But it fucking really got to me. And I remember I opened it and I cried, and I was just like, why the fuck wouldn't you just call me? Like, that was like the experience I had in my head. So I texted them and then didn't talk to them for half a year. So it was just like that to me is like, now that's also fed into this anxiety I have of opening letters. So this big I don't open letters anymore is kind of like it's almost a fuck you to the outside world, because it's like, after all of these songs, after this EP, I am in control. Like, I choose who I let in. I don't open letters anymore. I don't let people in unless I want them.
I think it's been a very interesting journey to see. Like, it's definitely been like a mental process, and I can see it, like, to try and channel that quite artistically is definitely very, very, like, it's nice to see.
Well, is there, changing the topic a little bit, James, is there any, this year in 2021, any collabs or any, like, you want to do with anyone else?
Wilbur, Soot!
No, like, the thing is I want to, but I don't want to force it. Like, I've been recently, like, there's a few, like, musicians who I've been interacting with. Like, Declan McKenna followed me the other day, and that was like, oh my god. And then like Sam Tompkins is someone who I've spoken to. I sent him before it was out and, like, asked for his opinion on it. And then there's obviously Wilbur. The thing is like, I've written with Wilbur before. Like, he wrote a bit of Calling. I did the drums for The Internet Has Ruined Me. It's like, we are always going to be making music together as long as we know each other. Like, I know he has projects next year and he's asked me to come down and help him out. Like, even from a perspective of just like telling him if something's good or not. I don't know if we will do music together featuring. I don't know if that will happen. I don't think either of us are like particularly urging it to happen, because realistically, his platform is massive, right? It's huge, but I don't want to just create a music career off of the back of someone else. Like, I would much rather like feature artists that are within my realm of reach than just go to Wilbur and go, hey, let me be Jared, let me be this like person in one of your songs, because then it's like, I don't want to just like, yeah, that's exactly it. It's just like, he has his own vibe, he has his own success, and I don't want to leech off of that. Like, the guy's great, you know?
I feel like that's the proof of a successful musician, someone who can make songs without features and do well. Like, you get so many popular artists that are all just features, but then I'm just someone that's off the top of my head. Lewis Capaldi never has a feature. Joji never has
6ix9ine.
Joji never has a feature. 6ix9ine has a lot of features.
I think in my mind, there are a few people who I would want to feature on a song, and I've named them. I'd want Wilbur on a song of mine at some point if I was to ever make an album. The other person is George Watsky. If I had Watsky do a verse in a song,
I think it's George Mimulus.
Watsky would be, because he follows me as well, and that would be like just a childhood dream of mine. And the other one is, if I could get Slash to do a solo for me, I'd fucking like die. Like, that's one of my like bucket lists.
Is there any completely unrealistic features that you're like, just unrealistic?
Slash, that's not happening. Like, no, because like
You could get Matty Healy on a track with you, Jay.
the thing is like, I think if you get onto Dirty Hit, if Dirty Hit sign you, they like help you produce shit anyway. So it's like that is, if people get, I don't think I'll get signed to Dirty Hit anytime soon, but that's like within the realms of possibility. Slash, the fucking guitarist for Guns N' Roses, is not going to join in on some YouTube music. Like, he's doing fine.
Why not, mate?
So that's definitely the most unrealistic.
I can definitely see some likeliness between, I think, you know, New Face, and I can see similarities between that and potentially some early days 1975, probably a little bit more towards the new stuff, if you get what I mean. How inspired by other people, bands, like, what are your inspirations for your own music?
I really like some of Bieber Doobie's music, and that was when I wrote Calling, or when I heard Wilbur do the Calling guitar. I was like, mate, you need to put a shaker on this, because I listened to She Plays Bass and I was like, that's got like a really good vibe behind it. So like, as soon as that really inspired the shaker for that, just kind of like bedroom pop shaker. Other than that, it's kind of like, I really like the way that Two Door Cinema Club can write music that just fucking sticks in your head and you feel nostalgic about without even realizing it. And that was one of the inspirations for him. And then, yeah, the 1975 for New Face, their newer stuff, which I don't think is done as good as it could have been. So like, it's like, I really like their music, but I was like, I found myself being a bit disappointed about the latest album, because it felt like they were just kind of doing as much as possible at once. And so I was like, I'd like to give it a go.
When we listened to the new album together, didn't we? And I found that there were parts of the album that were probably a little bit more dropped off, but that's probably the pressure, like you can probably relate to, of trying to release probably quite a fat amount of music. It seems so eclectic. It was just reaching a little bit, you know, which is also like a credit to artistry. But I think your idea where you try and move towards like an EP thing, where you're just like a few songs at a time, is probably the best way to go, unless you've got like large production.
The thing is like, I have contact with labels now, because we've been talking about like, there have been some discussions, and all of those guys say release a song a month, don't release an album. Like, they're kind of like playing into a lot of the kind of YouTube way of thinking now, which is like, you need to be releasing content, which is a bit of a shame, because like, it's kind of mudded the idea of an album, because an album used to always be tell a story within maybe like 10 to 15 songs. Now it's do as many songs as you can, fucking get those streams, because that's how you make your money.
Pure money consumption though at that point though, isn't it? Like, you take away like an album, you know, like the first 1975 album, where it's sonically all in tune and on par. But then by the time this recent album came out, we've already heard like 5 of the songs, if you get what I mean. So that meant that there were like, what, 16 songs or something. So you've got, and some of them are interludes. So you get minimal content from an album, but you get maximum via each single that keeps being released. You know, I think from the new album there was only 3 songs which I hadn't heard, which I really loved.
That's why I feel like quite blessed in my situation, because I'm not doing this for money. Again, it's like, if I was doing this for money, you'd see me release every song that we were going to put on the EP. There would be 7 songs on the EP, and I would not like 4 of them. And it wouldn't be like, it wouldn't have that same amount of passion in it. You wouldn't be feeling the emotions that I wanted you to feel, but I'd be earning from it. So like the fact that YouTube is my job, and then I can just put my passion into smaller projects that are better, in my opinion, than the stuff I would make that was just more of, that makes me very happy. Like, I'm very fortunate to be in that position.
I've got a little question for you, because obviously you're talking about who you want to do dream collabs with, which is Slash, Wilbur, Soot, and I forgot the other guy.
Well, I wouldn't say, the thing is about Wilbur, I wouldn't call him a dream collab. I just think it would just be sick. Like, we would make something really good. The dream collab is Slash.
Like, you've knew him for ages, and I'm sure I've told you this. I've told you the story about how I met him, didn't I? I've mentioned it a few times before. How, like, when I met you and him, he told me he was not Wilbur Soot. And then I was like, oh, okay.
See, I hadn't known him for long at that point, but he's one of the few people I've met that was just like a very immediate connection, because he came over to meet Fraser, and then Fraser ended up being really busy with a video, so he couldn't really spend much time with him. And I was just downstairs with him and his girlfriend at the time, and we were just chatting about shit. And then he noticed I had a guitar, and he was like, oh, I should bring my guitar over and we should jam or something, haha. And I was like, yeah, go on, do it when you're coming over. And then we did it. And then at that point we were seeing each other pretty much, like, if not every day, every 2 days. He'd come over at like midnight, we'd get at McDonald's and make music until 3 a.m. He'd bring his friend.
Was this the first apartment that you had with Fraser?
This was in the house in Greenwich, so really late on.
Okay, cool.
So this was about a month before you would have.
Oh, I thought you had known him for a long time before that.
Like, you'd think that now, because we've just spent a lot of time together. Like, I very much know him, and he very much knows me, very intimately. But yeah, no, we just spent a lot of time together in a very short amount of time.
Kinky. Is there something more going on than a friendship?
No, I've just always found myself, like, I can only really get comfortable in certain situations, and one of them's making music. So it's like, whenever I made music with someone, it was always a very kind of like open experience, and I had that with him. Like, he was probably one of my favorite people to write with. Like, definitely up there with Holder. So like, that was just like a very cool thing for me.
Are you telling me you don't feel comfortable with me next to you at Striker and pro clubs?
That's where I create my real art in the final third. Yeah.
Well, what I was wanting to do is I wanted to strip it all the way back. We're talking about very recent stuff that's happened in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 months. I want to strip it back all the way to university, and obviously you went, was it Spanish and Portuguese or just languages in general? I don't know.
Modern languages, Spanish and Portuguese was the name of the degree.
I feel like I ask every university student this and they go, oh, I don't know, but like, what were you planning to do with that?
That's because no one knows. I originally had an internship planned at a Swiss bank, if you'd believe it. So I was going to be like working.
Imagine James Marriott in a Swiss bank.
Well, you were born in Switzerland, weren't you?
But it wasn't because I was born there. It's not some kind of like nationalistic nepotism.
You wanted to go back to your roots.
It was in the UK. It was like in like Mayfair or something. It was just because my stepmom worked there at the time, and she was like, "Oh, we can get you an internship here," and that was gonna be what happened. And then I was like, "Actually, I just hit 20k subs. I'm gonna do YouTube for the summer," and that was.
Yeah,
20k as
Fuck
well.
you, stepmom.
That's it, because you lived in Portugal for a year, didn't you?
In Spain for half a year, and then Portugal for half a year. And that was basically the time I had. I mean, I wasn't spending much time doing anything other than YouTube. I was like uploading every 2 days, just trying to throw shit at the wall in the hope that it stuck. I mean, Cam, we did a collab while it was
under the thumb of George Mimilis as well.
Yeah, no, I was editing for George. Cam and I did a collab together when I was in Portugal.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm sure.
How did you meet?
Just over Twitter.
Yeah, it was just Twitter. I remember because you had that them videos, everything wrong.
Yeah.
When you were like pumping them out all the time. And I remember, I think I seen one of them, and then we collabed on I can't remember the video. I just remember calling them Jack Black.
That stuck like hard. still get that. And that was your fault. Because I remember the one we did on my channel. The one we did on my channel was Everything Wrong with Memulous. Because I remember I went to you and I was like, do you want to do Everything Wrong with Memulous with me? And you were like, at the time you thought it was a serious video and you said something like, oh, no, I'm not sure, man. Like, I've just become friends with him. I don't want to piss him off. And I was like, no, it's not as serious.
Was it me the other cam, that?
And then I was like, no, it's just a joke. I can't remember what we did on your channel.
I remember you had like 2.5, was it like 2.5k or 8k? Something like, it was definitely below 10k.
I want to say it was 8k because that's when I followed him after you did a video with him.
And then you just went like mental on this, like when you just keep uploading, and then you just grew so quick. And then you got involved with, when did you like get involved with like Alex and like basically the Eboys and stuff?
I got a shout out from a guy called Just Destiny. I think it's because one of the people he didn't like, I made a video on. So I made a video on a guy called Trigger Tro, and then he shouted me out the week after. And I went from 4k subs to 20k subs in a day. And then everything from that point just hit. So it was like, I just looked at the videos that Just Destiny was doing. I was like, okay, I'm just going to put Everything Wrong with away for a bit and make some reaction commentaries. And then I think within 3 months, I was on about 50k subs. And then I went back to the UK and Alex asked me to do a podcast with him. And then we both blew up after doing the podcast. Like, that was when Alex blew up and just got like, I think he had like 300k subs in a month. And that got him to 1 million in December. And then I hit 500k the month after. So we both literally just went boom, like at the same time. But his explosion was a lot bigger than mine.
That wasn't because of the podcast, it was like your own channels.
It was interesting how we were both doing it at the same time. Like, it was just, we were very much, at that point, we were just very much in tune with growing. Like, we both knew what we were doing and we were helping each other out a lot. And it, like, for example, the We Need to Stop James Charles video that I told him to do, I was like, do that, it will bang. It banged. James Charles followed him, and then he had to buy me a meal for it because we had this like little agreement. If we gave someone an idea that banged, he had to get me a nice meal, and he did. To his credit, he got me a rocker.
I mean, I think it banged for a different reason. We know the reason why that video banged.
Didn't he have his bulge, like just bulges?
Just chilling on the kitchen counter.
What's about your channel? What is like helped you so much? I think is how consistent you are. Like, you never seem to have missed a week, really, when you were growing.
I mean, I still upload at least every 2 weeks. Even when I was going through that really shit time in my life, I was uploading every 2 weeks. So it's like, I've you know what? It's not even a positive thing. I just hyperfixate on shit. And so if I'm not uploading on YouTube, I hate myself. So it's like, if anything, now I'm getting...
Yeah, I seen your tweet the other day.
I'm getting better at it now because it's like, if anything over 7 days, though, it still gets to me a little bit. I'm like, oh, no, I should be putting something out there.
I really, really, really struggle with that.
Yeah, same.
That's why I always upload so often, because I feel like, I don't know, it makes me feel extremely lazy. I'm like, I literally work in my bedroom. I have no excuse not to do work. Like, because you tweeted the other day, you said every time I do an upload something, I feel like I'm being stabbed. That's to say, if I don't stream, upload, just do anything work related, I feel like the world's worst person.
Because it's like, you have this opportunity that not many people fucking get, and it's like, if I'm not making the most of it, then what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm gonna look back on myself in 10 years and go, you moron, you could have been like set up for life, you know?
I always think that, and I always go, what would like 13-year-old Lewis seeing me as a full-time YouTuber think, like, what the fuck are you doing?
The thing I always used to tell myself, like, it's a bit different now because I've kind of come to the conclusion that the longer I wait to upload, the better a video does. Like, I found myself at this point now, if I wait 2 weeks before uploading, the video gets 500,000 views within a week. If I don't, it gets about 400k. So it's like, I would much rather be uploading less and just have videos do better, just for my own mental health. But when I was in the purpose of like blowing up and I still really wanted to grow, like, it's not really something that occurs to me anymore. I don't really mind how many subscribers I have. But at that point I was like, I'm going to be in a 9-to-5 unless I really kick my shit into gear. And if I'm in a 9-to-5, getting up at 6 a.m. every day, I'm going to be looking back at myself now and going, you absolute buffoon, why didn't you take this a bit more seriously?
God forbid being a normal person. God forbid.
Normality scares me more than anything, man. I swear to God.
It's interesting to see, like, the difference between, say, for example, like, before blowing up to after. That before, like, in the prelude to that, the hunger and desire to want to succeed and to want to achieve, to not do something, like, i.e. you wanted to avoid that 9-to-5 life. or just say, for example, normality. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's not always for you. And as a creative, maybe like obviously that's where you want to go down more of the route. But the kind of hunger and desire, do you still have that kind of hunger, or do you channel your energies somewhere?
I have that hunger for music, and I have that hunger for new projects. But it's like it's like that fucking boxing metaphor, you know? Like, for example, on Twitch, I like Twitch because I don't have a big Twitch channel. And I like the fact that me getting, like, if I get up to 1,000 concurrent views, that's nuts. That's like, wow, that's happening. That's new. It's like that waking up in silk pajamas type beat, right? Like, if a video of mine gets, like, 500,000 views, I'm like, cool. That's what I should be getting for a channel my size. Like, I see other channels my size do far better than that. I need to be doing this for myself. But so at that point, it doesn't become as like thrilling to do YouTube, because the next point of growth for me is if I make like kind of like Will's video, for example. Will's videos, they're nuts. They're like really well made. They take him ages. If I was making videos like him, perhaps I could move to his level. Perhaps I could move to George's level, the next level. I don't have it in me to make that kind of content on my own. The Eboys is a good place for me to do that, but I can't do that on my own because I don't have that interest. Whereas if I do music, which I love spending a lot of time on, and blow that up, or if I do Twitch, which I just find fun, and blow that up, that's a lot more satisfying to me than making a commentary video on Gabby Hanna for the third time in a month. If it was growing, if it was new, if people were going, wow, I just found this channel, this is really funny, I'd probably be thinking like, okay, this is sick. But I don't have that anymore. People kind of know who I am at this point if they watch commentary, and they probably either decided they do like me or they don't.
Ooh.
I mean, though, it's like people have decided whether they like me or not. I feel like at least in commentary, I've had my time to show myself in commentary, but I haven't in music yet or on Twitch. So I like that.
Well, on the topic of Gabby Hanna, have you met her?
Yes.
I know Lewis was saying that you might have had like an encounter with her.
So she was in my flat with what's her name? Corinna Koff. Like, it was really weird.
Oh God, yes.
Oh, don't tell Charlie.
Charlie's
that.
Oh yeah.
Like a really weird time in my life. Like looking back, it's like, why the fuck did this happen? So this was when Alex was doing really well. So people in LA were taking note of Alex, and people wanted to know Alex like a lot back then. And obviously they still do now, but not in the sense of LA YouTube. Like he was blowing up in LA, and he was going to move, I think, at one point as well. I'm glad he didn't, though, for his own health. And there was this one moment which climaxed in, Gabby Hanna and Corinna Koff came over to my flat with Fraser, which was a fucking state. And I was just kind of like sat there in my shorts, just being like, what is going on here? Like, this is just like a very like weird experience. And I remember it was just after Christmas, so my grandparents always used to get me like a box of Gillian chocolates, and I just put them on the table. I was like, maybe this will be a like kind of like welcoming, like welcome here. I've got some chocolates on the table. And Gabby had I was like, oh yeah guys, if you want any of those, like fucking go for it. I'm not gonna have them. And Gabby Hanna turned to me and went, you look like the kind of guy who likes chocolate. And Alex just looked at me like, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna make some fucking videos about you, Gabby. Like, how about that?
Well, Happy New Year, Gabby.
No, it didn't matter to me. But this was at the climax of all of the monster shit. So she came over and I just made a video on her singing, and she was like, "Have you made a video about me?" And I was like, yeah, it's just a joke one. It wasn't a joke. It's a joke.
That's so strange with Gabby Hanna, because like I thought you'd be such a nice person. She looks like such a nice person.
Oh, she didn't mean anything bad for it. Like, don't get me wrong. She wasn't like trying to fat shame me in my own flat. I think she was just like trying to make conversation, and it really didn't work.
Was it an awkward setting?
Oh, it was all right. Like we were just chilling. It was fine.
I think I'd lose composure if Corinna Koff was in my room.
Charlie, come on, man.
How? What do you mean how?
She's just a normal girl.
Is she?
Yes.
I was very drunk. I was very drunk at that period in my life. So like everything that kind of happened was a bit of a blur. This was in my bad period, bear in mind. And I had uni the next day. I remember thinking like I had a test the next day, which was quite important. And they were like, yeah, we're gonna go to the casino. Do you want to come to the casino with us? And I was like, nah, I'm probably just gonna go to bed. And then they left.
We went to the casino. Imagine going to the roulette table and just seeing Gabby Hanna just laying down flat stacks. Just putting down fucking everything on red.
Fun, to be honest. But I haven't spoken to either of them since.
Just them two?
No, I think they went with like more YouTubers. But at that time, I was just a bit distant. I was just like, I'd much rather just have Memulus in my flat drinking some whiskey with me than going to a casino with people I don't even know. Like, I totally get the whole, like, LA vibe of, like, yeah, networking. We're, like, all here to meet each other and be friends and shit. But I don't really care. Like, it's more like, if I like spending time with someone, well, like, sure, let's do it at a casino. But if I've met you for the first time, the last thing I really want to do is be in a situation where I can't even really speak to you. Like, I would much rather just chill in a flat and have a few drinks, you know? Or, like, go to a pub than go to a casino and have a night out.
The only thing I do at the casino is go to the bar. Like, they have bars and stuff at the casino. I lose my money, so I don't gamble, but every single time. So, I mean, like, that is an option. I can completely understand probably wanting to sit at home and just chill with probably a glass of your nice new whiskey or something, which would be probably fun.
It's a really weird one. Like, that was just such a weird experience to ever happen to someone. And I'm kind of glad it showed me that I don't really care about how popular people are. Like, here are two people who are at the time were, like, very important in the vlog squad even. And I was just there like, there's just some YouTubers in my house. I'm going to go to bed. And that was it. You know,
that's a good trait to have, though, mate. I'm not gonna lie. I think you speak about how you know, when you're like networking with new people and everything, some people seem quite facetious in trying to meet. Like,
yeah, I'm not down with that. I'm always very knowledgeable of the fact that when some people talk to me, it's like you're talking to me to get closer to George, Will, and Alex. It's like you're not talking to me to be a friend. You know? Yeah, I think it's always something you've got to be like, especially when you're in my situation where, like, in and of myself, like, sure, I've got a few numbers on the internet, but the people that are around me are insanely famous in the United Kingdom. Like, Will, people just know who he is. People who just know who George is, and Alex.
Remember when you made a video on Jojo Siwa, you got a very angry DM, didn't you?
I literally was speaking to Ari about this the other day. That is so odd. Like, of all of the people that I've had interactions with, Jojo Siwa, I remember looking at it was so funny, because Will, on that day, he said, like, you know, you can rearrange your DMs to show up to see who the most followed person who's DM'd you is. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. That's really cool, because that means I can, like, see if any, like, people have reached out to me. So I rearranged my Instagram DMs to do that. And then at the top, it goes 10 million. And I'm like, oh, what? And it's like, Jojo Siwa, tick. And I was like, at that moment, I just couldn't really believe what was happening. And she said, I can get it up. It is one of the most famously passive-aggressive messages I've ever received. But I love it for her. Like, I'm like, you go, man. Like, that's sick. Like, you've given me a free video, and I did make a video on it. But it's like, you know, fully respect the scenario. I never replied. She went,
wait, can you please message her saying Happy New Year? Just since our DMs are now open with her, just say Happy New Year, Jojo.
Oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to, like, the thing is like, I feel bad kind of, like, harassing people. So I just, like, I did the videos at the time and then I kind of regretted them. I was like, I probably shouldn't have done that. But she messaged me, glad I could get you 500,000 views in 2 days. The channel was doing a lot better back then. Thanks for the video. Really happy you're spreading a kind message. You're right. None of my videos have reached 500,000 views in the last couple of months, because the meme at that point, I was like, is Jojo Siwa's channel falling off? Is she falling off as a joke because she's fucking rich? But at least my videos are sharing good messages with everyone. Your videos are only hating on people. It's rude. XOXO Jojo. And I was like, wow. Like, I was like,
with a bad bitch.
XOXO.
I really rated the sass. I was like, you fucking go, dude. And looking back, it's like, that's something I can tell the grandkids, like, that she's clearly still entertaining at the age of 60. So, like, I genuinely, like, I love this. I love this message. It's very much a product of what 2019 was to me, and I'm very grateful that she sent it.
Can you reply for love heart?
No, what?
I love heart.
Oh.
Can you just love heart it?
This was a year and a half ago, Lewis. I can't send her a love heart.
To be fair, that makes it so much funnier.
Do you know how funny it is? A year and a half later, just going Happy New Year, Jojo, or just love heart.
I can't just, like, be DMing. That's, like, pretty contentious right now.
Happy New Year.
You said a love heart. You said send her a love heart.
Isn't she like 18 now?
I think you mean. I think he means like a double tap, like you like.
Oh, right.
Or did you actually mean send a minor a love heart?
No, I mean like a sarcastic one. Like, do you know when someone's just been a prick and you send like a sarcastic kiss, like that?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a sarcastic little love heart.
All right, well, regardless, I'm not doing it.
Play it with Jojo in your own time.
I think it's probably a good way to round this off right now. Is there anything else you want to contribute to that?
No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you very much, James, for agreeing to do this with. We're sorry for the issues that we did have with.
No, it's absolutely fine.
Charlie's issue, by the way.
Charlie's being fired. He's getting his. What is that form you send to someone you're firing? I never remember what the name of it is.
P45.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
P45.
that's just your-
P45 in the mail.
Right, we'll probably round it up before I actually lose everything. So I just want to say, James, thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. If you guys, you probably do, but if you don't follow James already, his link will be in the
And
description
EP.
below.
Hey.
And also make sure you check out his new EP. Probably anything else you want to say, or just what are we doing now?
Where do we go?
Where do we go? Cam?
So you're already on Spotify for the EP, but whilst you're there, after you listen to it, please go over to the audio only section of this podcast right now to listen to us answer. Is it Twitter questions?
Twitter
Yes,
questions.
Twitter
and
questions.
rate us 5 stars on iTunes.
Yes.
And follow the podcast on Spotify so you're notified whenever new episodes come out.
Right, and thank you very much for listening to this episode.
Bye.
Bye bye, James. Thank you, James.